start talking, I wanted to say, I think you had a touch of class to otherwise be a vulgar brawl when you introduce people. You did such a wonderful job, and I must admit, and I apologize for being surprised that a woman could do such a job.
How do I respond to that? That's Jack Bond, ladies and gentlemen. Today it is my pleasure to introduce James King, who you may recall on July 1st of 2017 became the interim president of Northeast State Community College. In addition to his presidency at Northeast State, he continues to serve as the executive vice chancellor for the Tennessee Board of Regents. He's a graduate of the University of Tennessee Martin, and he earned his master's degree from the University of Memphis. Having been really active in 4-H and Future Farmers of America, he began his career as a vocational agricultural teacher, and he also was a high school basketball coach. He has a very impressive background, both as an administrator and as an executive leader in post-secondary education, as a school board member, and as a Rotarian. James King is also well respected as a leader in the national professional organizations that call upon his leadership as well as in the community. He served as president of the board of directors for Skills USA. That's the national partnership of students, teachers, and industry. And as president of the American Technical Education Association. He is a board member for the National Technical Honor Society, and he chairs the commission for the Council on Occupational Education. Now, for over 17 years, he served as the Vice Chancellor for the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, the TCATs. And I might add that in his role as Vice Chancellor, all 27 TCATs reported organizationally to him. His leadership helped make the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology a national model for technical education. In fact, the TCAT system was recognized by Bill Gates as one of only 2 in the entire nation that were, as I quote Mr. Gates, doing it the right way. And as a result, he was invited to the White House to receive recognition from the President of the United States at that time, Barack Obama. Having been on the Northeast State campus for little more than a year, President James King has made great things happen, ladies and gentlemen, including the restoration of the financial strength of the institution, establishing critical community partnerships, and student success initiatives. In fact, I might say he has helped to destroy that myth that an interim executive must primarily be a caretaker of an organization. To recognize his leadership, in August, he received the 2018 Founders Award from the National Coalition of Certification Centers. Now, that's an industry education partnership that supports professional development and curricular development in community colleges and high schools. And in their role, they lead to industry certification in the aviation, transportation, manufacturing, and energy sectors. We congratulate him for that. We thank him for his leadership, his dedication to students, and for fostering student success, and especially for his commitment to the success of Northeast State Community College. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him.
All I can say is, wow, that was a great introduction. That's going to cost me more than $20, I'm sure. But guys, like I said, Mary Lee said, I'm James King, and it is a pleasure to be here. And as I rode into this area a little over a year ago with a fairly daunting task. You know, when I should have realized something was wrong when the chancellor and I had a conversation about what we were going to do about Northeast State, and we had a couple other community colleges that had some problems. And she had actually offered me, she said, because I had to terminate a presidency at Motlow State Community College, and she came in one day and she said, I would like you to go ahead and take over Motlow and do both jobs. And if I did that, I could have lived in Murfreesboro where my home was and all that. But I asked her, I said, what are we gonna do about Northeast State? And she said, I don't know. And I said, what about me going up there? And she said, I wouldn't ask you to do that. And I realized then, I thought, you know, is that the sign? But I said, okay, you're not asking me to come to Northeast State. I'm volunteering to come to Northeast State because I had a lot of respect for this institution. And I honestly felt like that I didn't think anyone in the system at the time could turn it around as quickly as I could because I had the knowledge of some of the problems here. And we did, and for those of you who don't know, we rolled in July. The institution was about $4.2 million in the red. They were not going to be able to make payroll in June or July. And I brought $1.8 million with me from the board to make sure we made payroll. And then had to go to work day one, doing something about it. And I appreciate the faculty and the staff and the support they had. As Mary Lee said, you don't come in as an interim and make cultural changes in an institution. And you know, and the first 3 months were pretty interesting. I only had 2 goals the first 3 months, was to make payroll and keep the lights on. And we managed to do that. And had to make tough decisions, you heard, because we looked at everything on that campus, every aspect of that campus, and had to terminate positions, but I kept the mindset, we're right sizing. We're not downsizing. We did not cut any services on the campus. We just, I thought it was right sized and got the institution back in. We had to close some off-campus sites. We had to let faculty and some staff go and do any faculty. We have maintained and actually increased enrollment, but I'm proud to say at the end of the 1 year, we made a $10 million turnaround in 1 year. Wow. 10 million. And so when I said that, we covered that 4.2. I paid back the 1.8 from the board that I borrowed from the Board of Regents. We had over $3 million in surplus this past year, and I put almost $1 million in the emerging technology building, and to get it back on track. And those of you that heard, you know, we've had 112,000 square foot emerging technology building that was stopped last July. Because the building commissioner said, you don't have matching money, you don't have this, you don't have, and you're not financially able to even equip it. And so the groundbreaking, we started work back on that August the 1st. Got dirt being moved all over the place right now. And on October 22nd, I'd like to invite everyone. We're having the official groundbreaking of that building. And 112,000 square foot technology building that's going to replace those 1965 buildings that many of you remember, because this school originally started out as, I think, Tri-City State Area Vocational School. And those original buildings that are inadequate right now, we will replace those. So we've done everything possible to the institution's financially stable. I have turned around the faculty where they're supporting the president's role and everything else. And we're near completion of a search for a president. And a lot of people ask me if I was going to be a candidate. I'm not. It's not because I don't love this part of the world. As I told Mary Lee, when you have almost 42 and a half years in the state retirement system at the level I'm in, you reach a point where you can't afford to work anymore. And y'all would question my sanity. You know, if on a beautiful day like today, that I could get out and ride my horses and make the same as I would if I dealing with headaches. So I am going to retire officially December. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I do know that I will find time to ride a horse because I had 3 horses and I had been in the saddle 30 minutes in 15 months. So I will do that. But you know, the single thing that I have noticed being in Northeast State is how the Tennessee Promise has changed the culture of an institution. You know, for years, you know, community college, you've got the black eye that you go to community college when you can't go anywhere else. Or you work, you stay at home, it's the inexpensive way. But what I have found out because of the Tennessee Promise and because of economics, and is that we have some of the best and brightest students in Northeast Tennessee come to Northeast State, because now they can come and get 2 years of quality education free. And so what that has done, that has put a whole group of 18 and 19-year-olds that were originally going to go probably to one of the 4-year institutions, and now they've created a collegiate environment on their campus. You know, they're 12, 15, 18 hours during the week, they're there full time. Right now we're working on, they're wanting coffee shops. They're wanting, you know, things like that. Some of the next building we'll build in Northeast probably be a student center, because these students are there all day. And they want the same collegiate environment that they would have had at 4-year institutions. So, you know, a funny story, when I got there, I looked at these kids, and we had a guy doing our social media that was like me, that didn't use social media. You know, and so I met with the Phi Theta Kappa group, the Honor Society group, and said, guys, I need you to develop the social media plan. And those 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds went full speed. They were reporting to me daily about terms that I had never heard of, Snapchats and things like this. But they were telling how many new followers we have in this, that, and the other. And I knew it worked when we had Fall Festival and we had a spray tattoo artist on campus. And I let the students pick out my tattoo. And I got the coolest pink and purple skull on my shoulder that you've ever seen. Anyway, if you let them do it, you got to do it. And so after I put my jacket back on, I was left to go to another meeting. I walked down the hall, and 5 to 10 minutes after I had that tattoo, a student comes out of the hallway and said, stopped and said, "You're the president, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes. I just saw your cool tattoo." So it was already all over campus, so I thought social media is working now. And so you take advantage of those opportunities when you've got all those bright young people on campus. But the other thing that it has done, you know, we've always had great relationship with ETSU. You know, that one of the most seamless transitions from Northeast State to ETSU of any college in the state. You know, from that. But all of a sudden, these colleges realize we've got a lot of young people on campus that may have traditionally gone to us the first 2 years, and we want them. You know, so yeah, now you're having, if you've looked in the paper lately, we've signed 2 great articulation agreements with Milligan. One for their engineering program, where a student can go from Northeast State and just seamless 2+2 in the Milligan. So you graduate from a great engineering program at Milligan at half the cost. Now we just signed with their BSN program the other day. We signed dual admission agreements with King. We've got a signing here in a couple of weeks with Tusculum. All of these institutions are wanting to make that transition from Northeast to a 4-year college. But the other aspect of the campus that we really improved is the apprenticeship program. We've always had a great apprenticeship program with Eastman and the area. But Northeast State now is the only DOL-approved apprenticeship program in the state at a community college. And what we did that for was so that small industries that couldn't have their own apprenticeship program now can go to the Northeast for a Department of Labor apprenticeship program and get all the classroom work through us, and then do their applied part on their site. So we have industries that have 2 apprenticeships, or 3 or 4, but they can come to Northeast to do that now. I think we are now the 2nd largest apprenticeship program in the state, with Eastman being first. So the 2 largest programs are right here, you know, in this area. So, you know, and that goes back, the workforce component of Northeast is still one of the strongest components of the campus. You know, and it's probably one of the only places, or the only place in the state, I had the pleasure of going around with Governor Haslam when he came on board. And called him his workforce whistle-stop tour, and all we heard was skills gap, everywhere we went, one industry after another. But the one place, one major industry in the state that claims they don't have really a skills gap is Eastman, because of the program we have with Northeast State. So that's really a compliment to Jeff McCord and his group over there. And guys, you have to realize, someone asked me one time, so what do you do in technical education? What does that really mean and do? And an automotive technician once told me the story that makes more sense than anything else. He told a story about a guy that had an old car, like many of us have had in our life when we started out, that barely make it around the block. And he was going to a job interview, so he pulled into this automotive technician shop and said, "Sir, can you get my car running well enough for me to get a job? Maybe I can get a new car." He said, "Yeah." The guy raised the hood, he listened, put a gauge on something, twisted a few gadgets, and the car leveled out pretty good. And he said, "What do I owe you?" He said, $101. The guy said, $101? All you did was twist a few gadgets. How do you itemize that bill? He said, $1 for twisting the gadgets, $100 for knowing which gadgets to twist. and yeah, and I think that's what that program does is we provide the students with the knowledge, whether it's in nursing or whether it's in the automotive or machining, with the knowledge of which gadgets to twist. And we want to keep that, and that's why that 112,000 square foot emerging technology building is going to be vital. We also completed the second phase of the RCAM Center here in Kingsport, and have got one of the great dual enrollment programs. Students come in at 7 in the morning, about 20 students from this area that are taking industrial maintenance, drafting, and things like that, machining at that site. Then they go back to their respective high schools, and we hope to grow that even more. The next thing that we've done, we hope by January to have the first phase of the aviation program FAA approved, the structural part of that. And the second phase of that, you know, there's just, my time is short. That's going to happen when I leave, I hope. We're going to be partnering with the Aerospace Park and building the aviation component on the Aerospace Park site. So right now we're doing the structure at the Gray campus there, and we'll have FAA approval for that. Signed a couple of great articulation agreements with that. So, you know, and we've narrowed down the candidates to 2 candidates for the presidency. One is Dr. Joel Welch. He's from Forsyth Community College in Winston-Salem. Strong technical background, a strong engineering background, so I like his skills. And the other is Dr. Bethany Flora from ETSU. She's worked hard with the Community College Leadership Program. So next week it's an open public forum for those students, for students, faculty, anyone from the community to ask questions, and that, because at the end of the day, we want the best person we can in this position. And because we've got it at a point where it's only moving forward and it's going to be what's great for this area. The other thing that was fun to kick off was the Reconnect program. And guys, that program is still in full swing. Is any adult over the age of 24 that doesn't have a degree, you know, can go to Northeast or the technical colleges at no cost. And so we still want to encourage. We had a pretty decent enrollment. We didn't have quite the enrollment the state thought we would have, simply because the economy is doing so well. You know, you see enrollment jump at community technical college when the economy is not doing well. So, but we had about 750 new enrollees, you know, as a result of that were adults coming back, and they go from 24 to 84 that have come in, so that are assigned, and they have to fill out the FAFSA and any financial aid need that they have beyond that. The state covers that through the lottery. So anyone out there in your community, you know, that needs to upgrade their skills or something, send them our way or send them to one of the TKs, because it's available to them. So I know I'm rambling because we've had too many exciting things going on, and I'm just trying to go through as much as I can because Mary Lee said just update, so that's what I'm doing. But I do think the groundbreaking is important for the new building, and the new president is going to be important for the direction of this community needs to go. Probably because a community college is an economic development engine for a community. It's just know that, it really is so. And this one here is probably the most comprehensive community college in the state in regard to strong academics, you know, and workforce development. And, so I've been proud to serve that role for the last year. And someone asked me what I'm going to do when I leave. I don't really know right yet. I hadn't thought about it. I'm going to take a breath and ride a horse, but and watch all the new gubernatorial stuff and things going on and see what I want to do after that. And so, but any questions for me? Yeah.
You mentioned the 27th as a groundbreaking. What time will that be?
22nd. 22nd.
22nd. 22nd.
Okay.
Right, and it will be, let me find those glasses that I had. 10 o'clock. Yeah, you're back there behind the building. So.
And one comment, I know that you took a dirty end of the stick and you've done well, my friend. Thank you.
All right.
You mentioned you had agreements with Tusculum and Milligan, but do you have agreements with East Tennessee State?
Oh, we've had the agreement with East Tennessee State from, because you remember up until recently, East Tennessee State was a Board of Regents institution. So we've had that seamless agreement with ETSU forever. And one of the thing I failed to mention, the example of students, the quality of students, we had 61 4-point graduates walk across the stage, you know, in math. And that includes and ETSU has one of the, I call it the Midway Scholarship, and it's probably one of the best scholarships in the state. And it's designed for transfer students or community college students. And if you get that Midway, there are 20 of them a year. If you get that Midway Scholarship, and it's offered to students all over the state, that your final 2 years at Northeast is free. Basically, I mean ETSU is free. And I was proud to announce that 13 of those 20 Midway scholarships from Northeast State students this time. So it showed the quality of students coming out. But yeah, now the UT, we have some seamless pathways with UT already, but it's not really formal agreements. But we have formal agreements with ETSU on nearly everything. You can flow into ETSU without missing a lick.
Do the credits transfer from you to UT Vanderbilt?
You do it's not as seamless because they've never been part of our system. It's closer to UT than to Vanderbilt, but the agreements with UT in most of the courses will flow pretty seamless. They won't flow sometimes quite as seamless as it would be at ETSU.
And I would also like to echo that you've done a heck of a job, even though you are a man. I think
Somewhat.
Even though I had to clean up a woman's mess? No, I'm not saying. Sir.
Well, what do you see as the challenges going forward for the incoming president?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, still do things the right way. I think that's, and I think the biggest challenge is restoring, the reserve fund. Is get that back to where it should be. Getting the aviation program up to par where it needs to be with, with the aerospace park. I think that's going to be one of the most essential programs we have on campus. And in equipping that emerging technology building over the next 2 years, like it should be equipped, we still lack probably, I would say somewhere $1 million where it should be as far as equipment. Because we were down like $3.2 million in matching, and I've been able to get back a little over $2 million. I've put back about $2 million of that. So
the previous faculty relationship with the faculty relationship with the previous president was a pretty contentious one. What do you see as the relationship at this time with yourself, and how do you think that's going to pan out going forward?
I told Mary Lady this morning You know, there are certain things that may not be big things, but probably the most contentious individual regarding that faculty senate there this morning, that early on I had to roll in and face head to head. They would have all these things that I had to do, you know, and I would look at them and simply said, "You realize how ridiculous that sounds," you know, and you know, but this morning, it's come a long way when this particular person thanked another staff member and our amazing president for it. So I thought, wow. You know, so it's come a long way. We've got, you know, we have pretty much resolved a lot of that. I do know that that's why there were a lot of concerns on faculty as we looked at the new president, but they were involved highly in the selection process to get these two people. I mean, this process was intense. It was, and the board listened to the needs. I didn't always agree with the faculty senate, but I think that relationship is good. I met with the group this morning. You know, they ask me every day, you know, why don't I reconsider? So I think we've come a long way. And I think the key to this, the next person, this person has to come in and be transparent. You know, they've got to, you know, one thing that we did that I think they like, you know, you can go to conferences all over this country and there's somebody's have some bells and whistle and selling, you know, what a innovative idea and blah, blah, blah. And I think that was one of the fault of previous president. John did nearly every one of those initiatives. Every time you turn around, there's a new initiative for the faculty to try to do. And most faculty just won't. It's all about teaching and learning. And so we eliminated about a dozen of those initiatives, and each one of them cost money and had very little value. And I think what they want to just be good faculty, and you provide them that opportunity. And one thing I did, I looked at, you know, I went from interim to I hired a academic VP and had the deans and everybody was involved in the process. And I let the faculty and the academic VP and the deans run the education part of the campus. I was sitting in all the meetings, and I took care of everything else. If you've got a good academic VP, and we've got an academic VP that they have validated as their person, and let them do their job. But I think we've come a long way on that. It's been a total cultural change, and I can assure you guys, it was ugly. You know, they gave me a list every day of who needed to go.
Could you delineate in some way the percentage or number of students that go from 2-year to 4-year school versus the ones that come out of Northeast State with some kind of technical certification at 2 years and then go on to work?
You know, right now it's about 50-50. Right now with the promise. Prior to the promise, it was about 40% went to a 4-year college, but 60% come out and went to work. But you've got so many of these new promise students that were traditionally college students anyway. I think that's sort of about 50-50 now.
And the 2-year folks, are you having any problems placing them?
No, we're not. Right now in today's economy, you know, most of those certificate programs, those guys are placed before they ever leave the job. So, yeah, placement rate is probably, for those that truly want to go to work, probably in the 90% range. And most of the programs, you know, you tell guys, you know, look at some of those industrial maintenance technicians and machinists. There are 3 jobs waiting on them, you know, when they get out. Yeah.
How'd the school get in such a mess without, surely they report to somebody that the president's not allowed to run it by herself?
You know, that's a good question, and I have asked that question a lot. And once again, I want to clear up, I'm at the board office, but for 17 years, my goal was to run the 27 technical colleges. And I ran that like a college president with 27 campuses. So those guys reported directly to me, ran the campus, and it was a nationally recognized system. They instilled, I'm just gonna be frank, there's no reason not to, I'm retiring. They instilled a vice chancellor for community colleges several years ago that was supposed to be the equivalent of my position. But they instilled it with the fact that the community college presidents didn't answer to it. And yeah, and I thought, who in the world would want that job? But anyway, and so that was one problem. And they still wanted to answer directly to the chancellor. Okay? And at that time, the chancellor had 6 universities to deal with. MTSU, University of Memphis, Tech, ETSU. So the way it was set up, then the chancellor primarily wrestled with it for a year. But the biggest question there that I've not been able to answer, except the fact that they're gone now, was the business office at the board office. They should, when took this position and hired a fabulous CFO, Colonel Klein. That Colonel Klein I saw back 5-6 years ago, just glaring markers that somebody should have noticed that where the spending was out of control. And so to answer your question, and I've asked that, but the people that were there at the time are not there at the time now, because they left when the president here left. And I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but they were gone. So, but the chancellor, I've worked with him and the new vice chancellor for business affairs. There's just all sorts of benchmarks set in place right now.
But do the local community colleges now have somebody looking over them?
Yes, yes. So the chancellor doesn't have 6 universities now. So, so she's a former community college president herself and a great institution down in Chattanooga State. So there's just, if nothing else, the fiasco at Northeast State has helped improve the system. And we've, but that same question, I've asked it, and no one would tell me, why didn't you see this 5 years ago? At least stop the bleeding, and there was no answer.
Was there any consequences to these people? Did something happen to them, after they left their work? I mean, they were doing it illegally.
No, they were not doing anything illegally. They're not drawing a paycheck. So,
Being a man as intelligent as you are and with the success that you've had, surely to God you're not going back to Middle Tennessee. You're going to stay up here when you're
from your guy's standpoint, it's probably going to do even worse. I'm going back to West Tennessee.
May the Lord have mercy.
I'm originally a West Tennessean, guys. I've been in Middle Tennessee since '99. I still have my home place is about 1850 home in Shiloh, Tennessee, down in Savannah. And that Savannah, Pickwick area is pretty much God's country too, down there.
After that question, I'm not afraid to ask this one. Did it hurt,
What?
the tattoo?
No, it was a spray tattoo.
Well, I always imagine, I don't like shots. And I figured having a tattoo was like having 1,000 shots.
No, it sounds like it would be. This is a spray tattoo. But it took about a week and a half to get off, though. I thought it said you could wash off. But it was fun to do. And that's the thing. We got involved. What we're trying to do is students, I want to tell this story. Friday week ago, and some things that you take pride in. And Friday week ago, at the end of the day, it's about 2 o'clock. One of my favorite people on campus that came in and said, the heads up, she's the advisor for the Black Student Association. And in Northeast Tennessee, that's not a huge organization, but it's growing, and we're trying to involve that in every aspect of the campus. And so she comes and stood in front of me and said, Mr. King, I met with the Black Student Association today. And usually when you hear that, you say, oh, no, can we wait till Monday? And she said, they love you. And they said, you're dope. And that's it. What does that mean? That's good, okay, so, but we've really involved the students in everything we've had to do, and that's been the best part about this institution. I told someone that I knew after a few months that I would never go back to the board office. That I was either gonna do one or two things. I was going to stay here or retire. But I've learned that this is the place to be. This is the fun job, back on the campus cities. And especially right now with all the good things going on.
With the emerging technology building that you're underway on, and then all the development that's going on at the airport, do you see any merit or advantage on the part of the gentleman from Forsyth having a technical background coming in as having maybe an advantage over the other lady from East Tennessee State who may very well be a talented lady?
They're both good candidates, but you know, when you look, that's a question that we've had a lot of people ask, and that I think a lot of Dr. Flora, I think that those are questions she's gonna have to answer. I do, there's no doubt it's on paper, the gentleman from Forsyth has a lot more community college, direct community college experience. So, and you know, at this point, I'm gonna stay out of that dogfight, but it's going to, we'll let things work out. But it does appear on paper, that's a strength of his. Not only that, he actually came from a college that actually had, and they developed a strong aviation maintenance program. All right, thank you guys.
You've done pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah.